So, everything that we've talked about here today, the human brain, we can't take too much information in and retain it all, right? So, if there was a single takeaway that you wanted others to have, to remember from our conversation here, what would be the most important takeaway you'd want them to leave with?
I think the one that I would emphasize again is that it's not just the playbook that you bring and you kind of rinse and repeat everywhere. Because I do feel like it's that test and learn, and we talked about building from scratch, right? I think there's obviously things that in our careers, where we are as chief marketing officers, we know works and we can bring that on. That's great. But there's also an opportunity to really break from the mold. And again, I learned that from working in like the PLG motion or working more with SMB, like things that you really have to just test and almost dispel your own beliefs of everything that you've learned over the time. I think being willing to do that and come in and say, "Hey, let me try something new that I've never done," or, "No, this is more of a consumer tool," or, "They don't buy that way." Those are all things that I think are really important, and just making sure that every single thing you're doing is testing. Like, I see every opportunity getting in front of a customer, every email, every ad, that is an opportunity to test, and if we're not testing and learning and doing that, we're not doing our jobs. So that's one of the philosophies that I personally have of like, hey, every single email that we do should include a test in it. But then how do I use those learnings to really build upon it? Sometimes it is more work or there's more red tape or whatever it is, but it ultimately allows your customers to tell you how they want to be marketed to if you do it that way. And I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Let the customers guide those decisions. We spend hours and hours, countless of meetings of like, hey, should we do it this way or that way? It's like, let the customers tell us. And that's what I love about the testing. And again, there's multiple ways. It's not just the messaging, or it's just not like, hey, does this email look better than this email? I talked about testing into new channels. How do I build competencies in new areas? Does this actually work or not? So I just think that's very important, especially when you're building from scratch and willing to break from that mold.